to our live stream extravaganza discussing politics for you. For you. Good economic news today. Inflation falling below a 3% rate of growth for the first time since 2021. Took a long road to get there. A reminder that inflation doesn't go away. But it seems that we are at least now on a path to being done paying for what came out during the pandemic. So that's good to know. Good news. Good news no matter where you sit. You don't want that pain at the grocery store to continue, right? Again, let's be clear. Doesn't make the inflation that happened before any less. Doesn't make the last 3 years money that you spent any less. And still, there we go. Good news there. Iran has not attacked Israel. A very interesting conversation I had with Ryan Macbeth yesterday. He doesn't believe it's going to happen. But that will be on the podcast Friday. And then, of course, whatever you guys would like to talk about. New polls out from Cook Political Reports that has Kamala Harris up in every swing state except for Nevada. Very interesting that Nevada has held strong for Trump. The leads are not gigantic. They're not what Biden was leading by this time last cycle. However, you'd rather be up than down. And right now, Kamala, we are still less than a month away from Joe Biden dropping out of the race and great googly moogly. It is a whole new ball game. We have gotten the round of polls that you would want. Now, whether or not it stays where it is, we don't know. I've got and this is gut. This is no highfalutin anything, but I do think that Kamala can't remain this smooth forever. She's very smooth right now. Kamala's smooth. J.M. Ramirez, trust me, I don't do any of the good shit early. I'm going to repeat everything. I'm just bullshitting. I'm just talking. Here's the reason why I start talking immediately. Is because it always frustrates me when I find somebody on Twitter that has a live stream and then I hit the button and it's like 5 minutes of their logo. And I'm like, no, I want to watch it now. I want you to talk now. So I talk now. But don't worry. If there's one thing you know about your boy, he'll keep talking. He'll keep talking about anything. He loves to hear his own voice. It just makes him so happy. Warms the cockles of his heart. What are the odds of her still becoming the incumbent before the election? Who knows? If Veep is real life, she becomes the president. So circle A on Friday on the calendar for an Iran attack. Macbeth made the point that if Iran was going to attack, there was a Jewish, it's not a holiday, but it is a day on the calendar for which a lot of bad stuff has happened, and that symbolically Iran would have wanted to be a part of that. But also, he has questions about exactly where the motivations are for Iran and for Hezbollah. So Hamas is decimated. It's just a matter of when Yahya Sinwar is killed, right? Hezbollah, to preview this conversation, his point is that they are the de facto government in southern Lebanon. So do you believe the Iranian money is still going to come in? And even if you do believe the Iranian money is still going to come in, is it worth having Israel destroy the infrastructure and people that would otherwise be your grift, right? Because if they're running a protection racket with a neighborhood, if you destroy the neighborhood, you don't have a protection racket. Meanwhile, on the Iranian side, Khomeini is 86. If they launch an attack that is significant and it leads to Israel really blowing some stuff up, does Khomeini want that on his head at this advanced stage? Or do you just say, you Jews, I'll get you? Yeah, clip that. Why would Kamala sit down with anyone at this point? What she's doing working? Don't change things until you have to. So let's talk about this. Because this is one of the things that it's a pet peeve of mine. And I know it is admittedly hypocritical because I love being the unbiased truth angel, which gathers all the information and weaves it into a beautiful tapestry for which I give out to the world for free twice a week. Every once in a while, there might be an ad on it, like there was this week. I assure you, that skip button works. That skip button works with the same fingers that the leaving a comment works. So I had a comment, oh, really, an ad? Dude, number one, Kalshi.com, great place. Great place. I love prediction markets. You guys know I've had prediction market people on the show. I find them fascinating. I appreciate them. When one reached out to me, I was happy to make a deal. They're paying us decent money to put the pre-roll on. So there we go. Anyway, I love doing this. I love doing this for a living. What I find frustrating is when people are volunteer surrogates. Like, we do have agency as people. It is not just team sports. Now, I do know that from the sides of the parties, it is team sports. For them, it is. They are wearing jerseys, but they're getting paid or they're volunteering. And maybe this is just a soft side of volunteering of like, oh, well, Kamala shouldn't explain why she was for a bunch of stuff and now she's against a bunch of stuff. Like, this is a pretty sizable U-turn. To go from, I'm going to sing about banning fracking on the Tonight Show to, no, I'm for fracking now. Pretty big U-turn. To go from, I'm okay banning private insurance to, no, I'm not for Medicare for all at all. Pretty big U-turn. We need to abolish ICE because ICE is similar to the KKK to I'm tough on the border. Pretty big U-turn, right? And I don't even just mean from a perspective of, oh, would it be better or worse for her electorally? Who knows? There's an argument that I would make that it would be better for her to demonstrate a command of the facts. And there's probably a lot of Democrats and maybe even some independents who have also had a similar journey that thought one thing about the border, now they think a different thing about the border, right? One thing about insurance, now they think a different thing about insurance. I think it would be, if it was politically expedient for her to do it, she might be speaking to a constituency to put words to that. But also, there are some people who really care about these issues. There are progressives who really care about Medicare for all. So, what of that do you really believe in? There are obviously a lot of people that care about the economy, that care about the border. What of that do you really believe in? If she's a border hawk and she wants to put more border agents, is she for deportations? Deportations are over 50% popular. Is Kamala for deportations? As long as she doesn't have a defined position, she can be all things to all people. Yeah, I agree with that. That's why she's very smooth right now. Not a lot of definition. She's just an orb. Kamala Harris is just a pearl emerging from the sea. Where did it come from? We don't know. But boy, is it shiny, and I can see myself in it. Kamala the Pearl. Absolutely spherical. No definition, no craggly definition. I interviewed Joss from TAC this week on my own show, and we talked about how funny you and Brian are. Well, Joss is one of my favorite people on the planet, so she is very kind if she said nice things about me. Can we talk about Trump and Elon being racist on the site formerly known as Twitter? I did not listen to the entire Twitter Spaces. I listened to probably after I was going in and out of my car, so it was apparently not playing well with that. But I listened to probably an hour of it. I did not hear them do the Michael Richards routine. But maybe they did. Why are they not hitting the mass deportation now stance? It seems like such a fertile ground to gain ground on the base. Leon Kassib, who's the we on that one? Or the they? Who's the they? Kamala or Trump? Where's the Jar Jar sign? I can go get it. Well, here when I need a coffee refresh, I'll get the Jar Jar sign. It's pretty amazing. The Jar Jar gallery is gonna happen. There's been communication that says more Jar Jar is incoming. Yeah, people were saying like there was slurring and lisping. Again, I I don't know. It's what I said on the show that came out yet today. Like Elon Musk and Donald Trump are Rorschach tests. Like I kind of know what you're gonna think about them almost immediately based on like the way you furrow your brow. For some, they are just evil. They are evil people who do evil things, and for others, they are Howard Hughes and Dwight Eisenhower. Right? They are people for whom we are privileged to share a timeline with. Is that why they sounded like my parents fighting? ATL John Boy, if that's how your parents fought, you are a goddamn pussy. If my parents fought like that, then I wouldn't be doing free shit on the internet for attention and validation. No, they fought for real. They fought real. They fought American style. Raise voice and sometimes fist. Dark. All right, fine. The Rambler and the hot take machine. I mean, they are two dudes who are not used to having to make room for somebody else in a conversation because everyone around them usually waits for them to monologue and then says, great point. And that isn't even a personality judgment. That's just like a certain level of fame. Kamala, I'm sure, has the same thing. Kamala probably doesn't make a lot of room for other people in speech. Obama doesn't make room for a lot of other people in a conversation. Biden doesn't. Benioff doesn't. When you are at a certain status point, you are surrounded by people that are orbiting you. It doesn't even make anybody a bad person. It's just the way that power works. I do think that there were interesting moments. There was when they got into global warming stuff, you know, few people on the planet have invested more in engineering solutions for global warming than Elon Musk. Between Solar City and Tesla. You know, he's put a lot of money into it. You can think he's a jackass. You can think that the solutions are bad, but he's put a lot of money into it. So he has put his money where his mouth is on his concern. You can quibble with his solutions. Even the concept of SpaceX is from a perspective of we might need to leave the planet. Humans should terraform other planets, right? Like that is the that is the guiding light. So to have him talk to Trump, who has called global warming a hoax, I thought was interesting. It was interesting. No, Waffle. I mean, SpaceX isn't public. Tesla's public now, but it wasn't public when it started mass manufacturing automobiles. I don't know if Solar City was ever public. I mean, he surely got VC money, but by all accounts, he was close to bankruptcy before they cracked the rocket solution for SpaceX. He had put pretty much all of his money into it. Elon was fine. He fell into the perma online echo space. I mean, haven't we all, brother? Haven't we all? Now, we don't all come out gnarled and crazy as Elon has. I will say, Elon, I know a lot of Tesla stockholders that would wish he would permaban himself from his message board, but Solar City was a bit of a cluster. I think they wound up selling most of their assets to Tesla. there were a few very interesting Trump moments, and by that I don't mean necessarily for this election, but just in that Trump is an odd person. Trump has said himself he's prone to just pitching weird ideas to people that are top of their industry. So he apparently pitched to Dana White, the head of the UFC, to do a migrant fighting league. So just have people that have crossed the border and have them fight each other, and then have the toughest migrant fight the UFC fighter. And apparently Dana White didn't like it. This is according to a Donald Trump story. I mean, in his own words, he's like, well, Dana hated it, but I don't know. It seemed like a good idea to me. Well, I don't think he meant bum fights per se. I think he meant to do it in an octagon. But who knows? Maybe it was bum fights. But at one point they were talking about nuclear power, and Trump suggested that the problem with nuclear was its reputation, and therefore, and this is a very Trump way of thinking, it just needed to be rebranded. So you just call nuclear power something else, and that will fix most of the problem. Trump could show virility by no selling a Canadian destroyer. I think he no sold a Canadian destroyer when he ripped up NAFTA, right? Everything is about branding these days. That's true, man. It's the vibes election. Who needs policy? Who needs policy? The only policy that Kamala has said out of her own mouth that is beyond her stump speech, which is pretty basic, pretty boilerplate, is no taxes on tips. Man, I'll tell you what, I like Michael Tracy. This is Michael Tracy here, going over what I said on the podcast today. Somehow I missed this. Trump was said to have threatened Putin that he would bomb Moscow. He said this repeatedly, by the way, but this, according to the New York Post in 2022, there are more stories making the rounds, and they're even more provocative. One has it that Trump, noting that Putin seized land from Georgia when George W. Bush was president and seized the Crimean Peninsula when Barack Obama was president, warned Putin against a land grab on his watch. If you move against Ukraine while I'm president, Trump is said to have told the Russian leader, I'll hit Moscow. Putin reportedly scoffed, no way, leading Trump to say all those beautiful golden turrets will be blown up. And that was, what Trump said on the Twitter Spaces, is that he talked to Putin about Ukraine and said what he would do, which I believe is what he has said repeatedly, that he would hit Moscow. And Putin said, no way. And then Trump in the Twitter Spaces said, way. Is there any chance in 2028 we can get back to some sort of normal election? No, we're done with those. Those were strictly an Obama era finale. They're done now. They're done. I mean, like, I can't. We're starting to see some of the stuff where at least the media has a little bit of a backbone against Walz. You know, you've seen at least some of the traction of like the Imam thing and the stolen valor thing. But like, those are pretty big U-turns for Kamala. Even if you're talking to the progressive wing. Well, we've never not had the most important election of our time. That's always a thing. Politics makes me want to delete my internet. It is totally reasonable for you to just not want to be part of it. I don't believe that politics should be somebody's personality. I think it should be my personality. But again, I am okay, if not at this point more comfortable, just being shunned by people who don't want to hear about what I have to say. I don't think that my life has been better because people want to hear what I have to say 24/7 now, 365 days a week. I don't think it's great. It's better for me financially. Politics does have three names. I did like during the Olympics, because in Europe that's how they do three. They don't do three. They do three. And so whenever Team USA would hit a three, the Team USA would just hold up three because that's what the refs would do. I think the biggest problem with the Democrats is that there's this notion that if we banish Trump to the shadow realm, that everything will go back to normal again. There's been a paradigm shift, and so far the D's are in denial of it, and the Republicans have shifted. Well, certainly there is a coalitional shift. I think that some of it will be mitigated because of Kamala, but I do think that Donald Trump will do better with black voters than previous Republicans have. I think he'll probably do better with young voters, better than Republicans have in the past. Largely for both, because there's a gender polarization that I do believe is real and I do believe will be reflected in the results. Boys like red and girls like blue. That is something that is happening. It is, and I think it is reflected in some of the issues that have bubbled to the surface. Can we talk about the real issue? Why did the Australians send a breakdancer to make sure Olympic breakdancing never happens again? So, Merrill actually flagged this for me on Twitter yesterday, and that is that Ray Gunn, the comically bad Australian breakdancer, got there for the reason that you would imagine she got there, which is that you can't microwave an international competition. An international competition needs to come from an already existent series of national competitions. So if you don't have a robust international competition for breakdancing, making it an Olympic sport just means you're going to have to go source a bunch of competitors from a bunch of countries, and one of the people that did it. So basically, if you are the Australian Olympic Committee, you then say, okay, well, who does breakdancing? And then they found the breakdancing commission. It turns out it was this woman and her husband, and they had a competition. She won, and her husband got to be the coach. Shocker. I don't believe that she knew she was that bad. I just believe that when the IOC is filtering down to its different organizations, it's hard for organizations that are largely focused on bigger events to say, okay, well, now we need this thing. Yeah, next up is flag football in 2028, and they are encouraging NFL players to play flag football in the Olympics. We are going to win by 1 billion points. We're going to watch some fucking bartender from Poland try to fucking track down Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill makes literal track stars, NFL cornerbacks, look like they had broken legs. Reagan's famous. Reagan will definitely be on Dancing with the Stars. That's for sure. I hope Reagan makes $1 billion from this. Yeah, I mean, like I assume that there are better breakdancers in Australia. And so for them, I would share their frustration. I also am a little bit bummed because if breakdancing were like epic in Paris, then I do think that it would have a shot to kind of happen again. Pro wrestling should be an Olympic sport. You know, if you looked at it as a paired gymnastics floor routine, you could judge it by that. It would be a complete separation of its kind of theatrical elements from its technical elements. But yeah, I would pay, you know, Daniel Bryant and Swerve Strickland as paired Olympic people against Will Ospreay and Kyle Fletcher. We already have gymnastics floor routines at the Olympics. Yeah, but do they involve fake hitting? No. No, they don't. Yeah, it would have to be Osprey and Oku. Yeah, because what, Fletcher's from Australia? Is he from Australia? United Kingdom? The Japanese team would crush it in the Olympics. All right, we're not going to do this, are we? Are we going to do... If pro wrestling were an Olympic sport, and it was essentially one match between two performers. So essentially, you would be looking at people recreating the best match that performers from the same country have had together. Mexico would be strong. US would be strong. England would be strong. Japan would be strong. Germany would be strong. And we're talking about people who are legitimately from these countries, not billed from these countries. Yeah, cooperative. So that's why I said like Swerve Strickland and Daniel Bryan, right? Or Bryan Danielson. Because that's like, all right, two people who have great chemistry. Or be like Kenny Omega, Bryan Danielson. No, he's from Canada. Canada would be strong. Canada would be very strong. Oh, Gunther is Austrian. Okay. So yeah, then I know. Well, Germany does have a big indie pro wrestling scene. The judging requirements would be the same as floor gymnastics, so they would know the routine, and then they would judge by the technical performance of that routine. So essentially, it would be them recreating a routine. And now, like in modern professional wrestling, that would be easier because a lot more scripting happens, apparently, than it used to. It used to just be call it in the ring. But it would favor the more technical wrestlers. It would favor the like old NXT. It would favor the AJ Styles. It would favor the Okadas, the Ospreys, like that New Japan style. I think Japan and Mexico would mop the floor. I don't know. Look, Mexican wrestling in Mexico is an amazing environment. It's a lot sloppier of a product. If you have ever watched top of the line Mexican wrestling in Mexico, it's not an extraordinarily technically impressive product. Japan has a technically impressive product. America has a technically impressive product. And England has a technically impressive product. Psycho Clown. Psycho Clown could come from Mexico. I mean, all right, here we go. It would be based on points. Yeah, in the same way that the gymnastics floor routine is. So the reason why like Simone Biles is the GOAT is because she can do things that other people can't. And she does them so routinely that she submits her routine. This is what I'm going to do for my floor routine. It involves things that other people can't do. And so the only way she would lose is if she screws up doing those things. So in a professional wrestling sense, you'd have two performers that were performing, fighting each other, but they're cooperating, obviously. And it'd have to be long. It would be like probably a 10-minute match, a 10-minute routine. And then you would be judging based on how they did everything. Pro wrestling as an Olympic sport wouldn't have the drama. I don't know. I think it would have the drama. I mean, if you watch, I mean, the performances would be insane. They would be ridiculous. And then you would have the judges. It would be a lot like figure skating. That's what it would be a lot like in terms of the like the drama element of it. All right, we don't have to stay on this because the place I want to go from here is just looking up cage match ratings and just picking just the top matches from the last year of people from the same country. All right, we're not going to do that. We're not going to do that. I thought it might be easier. We're not going to do that. Okay, never mind. Yeah, I did see the UAW thing. I don't think that that's real. I mean, the UAW is essentially a Democratic press organization at this point. Uh, so I don't really think it matters for their members per se. Okay, do we just want to do that? Let's just have ChatGPT decide. All right, we'll do that. I am putting together professional wrestling for the Olympics. It would feature two performers from the same country putting on a match that would be judged as a technical performance. Search the web to find pairs from the following countries: US, Canada, Mexico, England, Scotland, Ireland, Japan, and the Philippines. All right, we'll do India. All right. ChatGPT doesn't like wrestling. We're done with that. Okay. What are the chances that jury looks at these chats? What chat does jury look at during these chats? Patreon or Twitch? George, I see all. I see all. I see everything. I mean, the Republican nominee had the Teamsters head at the RNC. So while the Republican Party has not been a particularly friendly one to organize labor in the past, this is probably the most friendly Republican nominee to organize labor. And I think he is the most recent member of a union that has been a Republican nominee. Ronald Reagan was, of course, the president of the Actors Union, and Trump was a member of it. How is RFK Jr. doing in the polls now that Kamala is the candidate? Worse, and primarily drawing from Trump. Okay. Would I say that I'm bearish on RFK Jr. right now? Yeah, I would say I'm bearish. Throw me in the back of the car. What do we want? We want a hard charging 80s rock song about what? Is there a Patreon chat too? No. Oh, a hard charging 80s rock song about a payment platform that arbitrarily decides to ruin your career. When does RFK drop out? I don't know. I don't know. Why am I more pissed at Patreon than Apple? Because fucking Apple's an excuse. Apple's an excuse for Patreon. And they know that people will buy it because Apple's a bigger thing than they are. But number one, the only reason why Apple even considered them an entertainment service is because they kept adding features that nobody fucking uses on their app. Number two, even if they go through with what Apple wants them to do, and I'm not here to defend Apple and their thuggery when it comes to charging the 30% cut, that only matters when it comes to iOS stuff. And so if you just didn't list per creation, you couldn't sub per creation on the app, then look, it is what it is. I don't know how many people subscribe to me on the app anyway. I understand as a consumer that if I subscribe to something via the iOS app that I'm going to wind up paying a tax, and I often go somewhere else. I say on the show to go to takepoliticsseriously.com. So I lead people to the website. This is not a hard hurdle to clear. What Patreon wants to do is simplify their back end, and they have wanted to eliminate per creation billing for a very long time. They have incentivized creators on the back end for a very long time to change. I resist changing because I don't want to alter how I've made my career. And it's just gonna be different. It's gonna be different. I have to adjust what I say to my audience. And also, I do think that, quite frankly, I might take weeks off. If I don't have to do a thing each and every week, then I might take weeks off. And I don't believe that that's better for you, the consumer. Because now when I take weeks off, I get a guest host. I pay them to do it. If there's no difference in the money, then why am I paying a guest host? I'll just take the week. And I don't think that's good. I like the way that things are. Patreons wanted to fuck this for a long time, and they finally found an excuse. So quite frankly, I think it's insulting when people are like, be mad at Apple. No, I'm not going to be mad at Apple. I'm going to be mad at Patreon because Patreon's the one that's doing this. Look, I'm not here to defend Apple. They can do what they want. And again, the thuggery of enforcing their cut on the App Store, they're going to do until they're forced to stop doing it. But this has nothing to do with per creation. If they just said, hey, any new signups for subscriptions on the App Store, on the iOS app, is going to get a 30% Apple tax. If you desperately want to subscribe to me via the iOS app, then you're going to pay the Apple tax. That's fine. I would pass it on. I am going to be passing it on to anybody who does it. I don't know how many people subscribe to the iOS thing, which, by the way, that's something else. I don't have any rich fucking data from Patreon. I don't want to, I don't want to shit on them because we still have to stay together for the kids for this election. And I don't want people to be mad at Patreon because then that might be a reason why they don't pay into it. Everything's fine. Mom and dad aren't fighting. Here's a totally unrelated song.
Down just like your fears. I'll play with blood that brings you tears. Promise streets now left you rubble. Feel the burn, you'll see it double. They break you, tear you down in place. Steal your future, crush your name. Crush your life, it's all game.
The fairways stretch a silent cry underneath the endless sky, where swings and dreams would intertwine. Now shadows on the calm remind of all the scars that hide behind this peaceful stride. Beneath the hills where fairways green, haunted by a past unseen, swinging clubs but losing grip. In silence memories start to slip. Beyond the perfect shot I fight a storm within, torn between the present and the shadows of where I've been.
Out on the prowl for a statue with 7 feet tall. She says it's foul, but I can't resist his dark twisted call. Rebellious hearts break all the rules, yeah. In the face of dark idols, we stand tall.
All right. So real talk, Substack, RSS feed when. Take the Tom Merritt approach. I'm everywhere that you want to pay me. Right now, we got a good thing going. If I had never gotten that email from Patreon, I would not be even thinking about this. I don't want to split the audience. And just to be totally fucking honest, I make more money in a per creation system than I do outside of a per creation system. So trust me, I want to take as much money that I can take from Patreon as I can. But we're going to keep things going the way that they are going through the election. All right. Corporations squeezing more money out of their creators and customers. This isn't even doing that. I would be giving them more money if they would just let me do it, but they want to simplify their back end. So I don't even know. All right. You want to know what? We will. The thing is, Substack doesn't do per creation, which is the reason why I was never really thinking about Substack. How much of your existing support would this matter to? I'm guessing smallish. Well, I don't know, right? And that's the biggest thing. I can now say it's $3 a week to get 2 bonus episodes. If I say it's $12 a month, then it might be something different. I don't know. Dr. Whiskey, what's up?
Brocephus, don't stress too much. I just went and raised my Patreon to the Titanic $10 tier.
Well, I thank you, sir. I thank you. What do you want on your thing?
I can just put Dr. Whiskey on there. It's
Dr.
fine.
Whiskey. All right. Let me
Yeah,
write
man.
it down.
I don't know how long I'll be able to.
This is the
swing
list,
it.
by the way. This is the list that I have. I just keep writing. There's probably a better way to do it. Last cycle, I was like every episode, I was reprinting and rechecking everything. But this time, I don't know. I've gotten a little lazier.
That's awesome. Well, I've been wanting to do it anyways. A little extra bump through the end of the year to, I consider it a baby shower gift or whatever.
I appreciate that. So yeah, by the way, there's 2 whiskeys here because there's a whiskey wolf. So you have Dr. Whiskey and
politics
Whiskey Wolf.
goes hand in hand.
They certainly do. They certainly do. Thank you very much, Fred.
Thank you, dude. I don't have anything else to add. Just, I could tell you started to get a little stressed there and didn't, want to help alleviate it as much as possible. And I'll take this time to say, hey, anybody else that can afford to throw the man some dollars, let's do it. He's putting in the effort.
Yes. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, sir.
All right,
I'll talk
love
to you.
you.
All right. Love you. Bye. There we go. Look at that. A mensch and a half, Dr. Whiskey. You'll love to see it. So here we go. This is our jar chart that was sent to me. That started us talking about it on Great Night, that we will do a jar chart gallery. And then maybe a big sell-off at some point. But we will collect your jar chart. The Venmo is Justin-Young-20. Justin-Young-20. So yeah, we'll see. Look, a lot of stuff going on, obviously. I'm in my final 2 weeks of being childless, allegedly, according to science. I gotta go to Chicago this weekend. We got a live show. There's a lot going on in the old Germs' bean. Turn off your radio, caller. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. How you doing, sir?
What's popping?
You and I are very close on how I want professional wrestling to happen at the Olympics. The only difference for me is I think it should be they have to call it in the ring, and that the judges basically, you walk out, you do your entrances. That's part of the performance. And then the judges say the ref will secretly tell them this is all right. Here's who's going over, and then they have to do a performance based on who's going over, right? And they call it in the ring, so it's all improvised.
How do you guard against them pre-planning it then?
I don't think there's anything wrong with pre-planning it, right?
Then what's the point of telling them to call it in the ring?
Well, because then they have to the finish.
Why are we getting into this? Why are
Because it's
okay?
fun.
All right. Yes, yours was different. You have stated why you're different. And what else is on your mind?
I do like regarding the Patreon stuff.
Yes.
Why can't they just go? It was Blizzard, right? Or is it the Fortnite people who
sued
said
Apple?
Yeah, who
Yes.
just like fucked off on Apple. They could have just done that, right?
They could delist their app. They could fight. They could make Apple kick them off, and then they could sue Apple. There's a million things they could do. They don't really want to do it. They don't want to fight. They literally have been trying to incentivize me to move to a per month thing for years. For years. They've just tried to entice with different, but with these features, you can use these features over here. But the features have always sucked. And I believe I just make money on per creation. And so I get it that they have a business model that they want to simplify their back end on, and I complicate their back end. My response to that is tough titties. It's my living. You sold me the dream of making a living on your website. I've done it. Now, without getting into numbers, I would say that if I'm not a contributing member of your ecosystem, bringing in what I bring in, then what are you doing? Like what if I'm small potatoes, then I don't know how inefficient your system is that you are only relying on supernovas.
So where would you consider moving everyone? Would you move everyone? Like, and where?
Meryl, welcome to my inner monologue over the last 3 days. I don't know. I honestly don't know. I mean, it would depend on a lot of different things. And I don't want to get too far down that road because, again, we have 3 months until the election. And I don't want to complicate our message, which is very simple. For $3 a week, you can get 2 bonus episodes in a custom RSS feed that will be delivered via Patreon. So
per creation would have made word Tetris impossible. I mean, the lack of per creation would have made word Tetris impossible when I was doing it, because I did that per creation because that way I could do the show seasonally, and people would only get charged when I was doing the show. Like, because I didn't want people to get, charged in the months of gap between runs. And it's like, I think as a consumer, I like monthly more, but as a creator, there are certain things that need a per creation system. So I'm not a fan of this choice. As a consumer, I love monthly, but I'm not a fan of this choice from Patreon.
Jen is furious. And
right, because Jen doesn't do it all the time.
Yeah, Jen only does per creation. And in general, she does one a month, but she only does per creation. When she works, she gets paid. That's it. She is fucking pissed. She's way more pissed than I am. And this is going to be something that listeners and live attendance to the Chicago show will get to see her in full bloom on, because
you're not going to cover it on today's recording?
Nope. We're saving it for Chicago because Tom's there. Tom Merritt, by the way, is our special guest in Chicago. So it is a tech thing. And so we will have a tech man on the show.
It is so funny to me that you kept advertising the special guest as someone who's never been on the show before, when really almost no one has ever been on the show before. So really, it just meant anyone but Brian.
Basically. Just not Brian. Well, because also, if I just said that and I didn't say never been on the show before, then people would just assume it's probably Brian. So I was just taking that away.
What's the compressed plan for the DNC?
in on Saturday. There's apparently a little media meet and greet that I might go to, unless I just wind up running into. I think I might just meet up with like actual Chicago friends. And then Sunday live show. Monday I will be there for Biden getting cucked to night one in the Amber Rose slot, because I'm very desperate to experience the vibes of that, like to watch a sitting president be humiliated at his final DNC is truly something that I don't think that I will ever see again in my lifetime. And it is very emblematic of the modern Democratic Party. And then I'm going to be gone, most likely. Look, it's a delicate balance with a 9-month pregnant wife.
I mean, to be fair, I think you're seeing the best. I think you're getting the one thing you really need to be there in the room for is Biden, because Kamala's just going to be an anointing. Like, it's going to be a Hillary level anointing. Go balloons, go balloons. That's all it's going to be.
I believe so. I believe so.
So I don't think you're missing much by not being there in person. You can catch it on the live stream, but being
I will be live streaming Wednesday and Thursday. I think I might not live stream Tuesday so I can do Great Night. I think I might do Great Night Tuesday instead of live streaming politics. But I believe I will live stream Wednesday and Thursday.
So, okay, last thing, let's talk this Jar Jar. So, I mean, if you go to Amazon right now, you just search Jar Jar, boy, is that boy have a library, right, of product. Like, you could fill the gallery today on just Amazon Prime orders. That tin sign came from Amazon Prime. And then that guy's got a whole line, right?
I think it's rich. We have a rich vein of Jar Jar, and we will put together the world's greatest collection of Jar Jar.
I think the goal needs to be you keep it going until you find another statue. I think that should be the mission. You got to keep going until you find the statue.
Brother, we're following the muse, and the muse is a Gungan with a big floppy tongue.
You should get the statue and then dress it in a Sith robe with a red lightsaber and be like the original Vision. That was the original Vision.
Maybe. Who knows? Look, I'm just here to collect Jar Jar. That's all.
Is the first.
I'm just a Jar Jar procurer.
I said this in the chat last night. This feels like the first true post Bryce bit. Like, this is like the first true like bit the show's had since.
Which, like most bits, it'll probably be forgotten in 5 days. But still, it's fun. It's fun.
All right, I'm out of here, man.
All right, bye.
Bye.
All right. I don't know if Waffle wants to call in. Otherwise, I can just. Who is this?
Hey, just another pilot.
Hey, just another pilot. What's up?
Well, Kamala is up in 5 states, battleground states. So that's it, right?
According to Cook, according to the Cook political analysis. Yeah, it's it. It's a wrap. I mean, look, she is up. She's up by anywhere around 3 and 4 points. So you are like barely outside the margin of error. She is still within, I think, in most of them. I think this was Harry Etten's point that if you average out the polling misses in 2016 and 2020, that Trump would still win if the averaged out polling misses happen again, which nothing's guaranteed like that. Polls don't always miss the exact same way, although they did miss the same way twice with Trump. So will that happen a third time? We do not know. Now,
yeah, you don't put
the biggest difference is that the Republican Party is very united. Donald Trump's vote share has not really moved at all throughout this Biden thing. Republicans are not swayed by Kamala. Right now, Democrats are very swayed by Kamala. And the question is exactly how democratic is the environment? And when you look at the polls, how if it's a D+5 environment, then yeah, Kamala's up 4. If it's a D+1 environment or an R+1 environment, then Kamala's down. That gets into polling stuff that I'm not super on firm ground on. I believe the polls as they are. I tend to just, again, I don't take them super seriously. I take them as a guide of momentum. And there is no doubt that Kamala has united the Democratic Party in a way that was very demoralized. I do believe she's going to stem the tide with black voting losses, and I do believe she's going to stem the tide with youth voting losses. Will that last? I don't know. Nothing's lasted in this election. No thing that we thought was going to move the needle has moved the needle for particularly long. A conviction didn't, an assassination didn't, a presidential, a resignation hasn't. But also it's like, there's a long way to go between here and there. I would be shocked if this is the end of it.
The chaos is very exciting. I just don't, I've never seen this before, but I don't know. I don't trust the polls. I rarely do. I do trust that it's going to change again.
I don't know. I mean, my vibes are very weird on this race because it's like the Kamala campaign is very successful right now and she is very smooth, but they don't appear particularly confident. At least their moves are not confident. Like, why just out and out? Why totally U-turn in the most under the radar way possible on everything from 2019, unless you're worried about the fact that you are going to be painted as too progressive? Why take the Trump taxes on tips thing unless you are terrified that you are going to get blown out in Nevada? That is like it's a very 1984 move to be like, you made that, I made that. And then Tim Walz seems very like, take away the Hamas stuff. Tim Walz to me feels like we are getting murdered on men. So we need something that screams masculine. So it's not that Josh Shapiro is too Jewish. It's that he's too metrosexual. And what we need is Grill Dad. Grill Dad is masculine because we are getting the shit kicked out of us with anybody with a penis. And that's going to kill us. And so it's like, okay, so now you have freedom, mind your own damn business. Like, those are we gotta stem the tide stuff, but they're doing well. You would think that means that they have license to chart their own course and maybe even say, hey, we're going to take the country in a little bit more of a progressive place because one man's socialism is another man's neighborliness, as Tim Walz said. That seems like a ticket that would be built for it, but they're not doing that. They're saying, no, we're border hawks. We very much believe we're going to get the economy back on track. It's like those two don't seem to be the politicians that would say that, and yet they're saying that, which makes me, things that make you go,
It's definitely a change. I don't know if it's a drive from a fear perspective or it's just triangulation, but it is a weird thing to watch. However, watching Trump is weird too. So politics is weird.
Dude, bro. I totally agree.
All right. Well, most important thing is you keep doing what you need to do and F the Jets. Bye, Buck.
See ya. Buck and Pilot, man. What a pair. Shapiro had too much baggage and would garner a Gaza penalty in the way that Keir Starmer received. I mean, Keir Starmer won. And I don't think that, if you're looking for independent voters and you have stolen valor shit hanging around you for Tim Walz in states like Pennsylvania, Georgia, Arizona, where a lot of veterans live, is that better or worse? The Gaza people will come home. I believe so. Serious question. If I made a donation here on Twitch, could you spread it between Jen Briney and Andrew Heaton? I don't want to have a Patreon account. I don't know what my actual payout is from Twitch per se, but I would say just if you give to my Venmo, I'll Venmo them. Justin-Young-20 is my Venmo. How much does any VP pick affect the electability math? I mean, look, I tend to think that the biggest thing with VPs is first do no harm. What we have seen is both VPs get hit with a lot of oppo immediately. Well, we will find out whether or not JD Vance's comments about childless cat ladies or stolen valor accusations affect anything. Both are targeted specifically to turn off independent voters. But we'll see. Have I heard the rumor that Shapiro labeled a murder or suicide and it's just coming to light? Yeah, that was part of the oppo dump pre-VP selection. In this Democratic Party, even the old Democratic Party had no problem sweeping a suspicious murder under the rug. So pardon me if I don't believe that would have affected any of the Democratic ticket. Stolen valor for Walz is a stretch at best. I mean, that depends on who's hearing it. I've seen stuff from veteran voices, and again, I'm not a veteran, so I think that this very specifically is in their mindset. But I've seen veterans that found it to be distasteful. So, again, like, do I think that the stolen valor thing is materially different than JD Vance making a joke on Tucker Carlson? It's in the eye of the beholder. Again, it's not me to fucking decide. It's me trying to ascertain what the fucking people are connecting to. So, like, you are turning off women if you're JD Vance and they run the childless cat ladies thing. And I do think that's an effective attack. And you've seen JD Vance have to answer for it. We have not seen Walz. We've seen the Kamala campaign walk back what his rank was, and we've seen the Kamala campaign walk back the clip that they put out saying that we should not have weapons of war that he carried in war on the streets. He was not in a war zone, so they have walked that back, saying that he misspoke, which means that they are sensitive to it. How much will it matter? We don't know. Now, this is what we like to see. We like to see good old inter-armed forces rivalry. Mud 2247. As a prior Marine, JD Vance is a prior Marine. As a prior Marine myself, anything other than the good old USMC is stolen valor. Yeah. The stolen valor stuff, look, it's just in there. It's in the ether. Does it affect independent voters? Are there enough veterans that they believe that is a bad choice by Kamala? It is a unwise decision that she made. I don't know. I will say this. If she loses Pennsylvania by 1 point, she's going to get fucking killed for not picking Shapiro. It shows how little they have against Walz. Well, I mean, you know, CNN covered the Imam thing yesterday. He called a Minneapolis Imam who praised Hamas and promoted a book about Holocaust denial. He called him a master teacher on tape. You know, the Republican rabble rousers that I follow on Twitter say that he's got more in the Oppo file and they will be dropping it periodically. But, you know, CNN covered it. Did it really help her with the Gaza people? Well, I mean, again, I think what some of the people in the chat have said is that Shapiro would have specifically hurt her. So she went to Michigan. She got heckled. I think she had a bad moment slapping him down. She had a better moment when she got protested in Glendale. It depends. If we see a rise in Gaza protests again, which we might with it being back to school and all, then is that going to be on their hands? Is it true that Trump is using Epstein's old plane? Apparently so. Apparently, I don't know if he has used it repeatedly. I know from what I read about it, he rented it after one of his other planes broke. Who's this? Hello.
Gerbs, it's the Buck.
What up, dude?
Hey, what's up? You know, we're talking about the the Tim Walz stolen valor thing. I just kind of wanted to add my own personal, 2 cents to it.
Go on.
Most of you guys know I was a Army National Guard veteran.
Mm-hmm.
And I wrote this in the Discord, so I'm just going to kind of read it off and get through it that way. So I've always struggled with survivor's guilt, in quotes, after making the decision not re-enlist and end my service in March of 2001. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bluest of skies and all that.
Yeah.
I had reasons, both personal and familial, for not returning to the Guard. And it still bothers me to this day that I didn't go back. But when someone calls my service not as worthy, fuck those assholes. I've discussed this with family, friends, and multiple therapists. Everyone I know, especially the friends that I served with, says that I should bear no shame. I did my time and received an honorable discharge. But the feeling that I let my brothers down by not re-enlisting after the events of 9/11 will never go away. And that's, excuse me, what I said.
Well, and nobody should ever make you feel less than, and you should not feel less than. I don't believe that that there should be any part of that. I guess my question to you is, would that by proxy mean that you feel sympathy for Tim Walz's position?
Yes, because by proxy, the difference there, the difference there, and I guess the wiggle room on the side of being mad at
Walz
would be
yeah.
Walz would know that he knew that he was getting deployed. I did not know.
Yes.
9/11 was going to happen. But he served his time. 24 years. He was eligible for retirement.
Yep.
Does it look shitty? Yeah, because he's in a position of leadership, and he probably should have went with his men. But he did what his country asked him to do, and I certainly am not going to denigrate the man's service over it.
Yeah. Well, again, this is a situation that for my soft-handed dilettante ass, I am certainly not going to put any pressure on more than just to say, I have seen a lot of conversation about it from veterans online. Now, does that mean
it's a volatile topic in the veteran community?
Yeah.
For sure.
So does that mean it will have an electoral effect? I don't know. I do know that from observation, the veteran perspective is something that is, I would say absolute sometimes when the community makes a decision or members of the community make a decision, they are hardcore on it. And one of the things that they are very hardcore on are duty to serve and stolen valor. And so you are playing around with those elements in this controversy such that it is. You can think it's bullshit. You can think that it's a stain on his record forever, salt to taste. But when you see that level of anger, it's something that I pay attention to. That is all I will say. I cannot put any personal judgment on the man because I didn't serve for shit. And in my own personal life, I've got two friends that were Army that served in Iraq and Afghanistan. One of them was National Guard. And in my little group chat, one of them is really fucking pissed about it. The other couldn't give a shit. Now, one of them is probably going to vote for Trump. The other is probably going to vote for Kamala. The one for Kamala couldn't give a shit. The one for Trump is furious about it. So maybe this splits.
Part of it too,
maybe this splits. Yeah, maybe this splits evenly on partisan lines. If it splits evenly on partisan lines, then it doesn't matter, right? So this is just my job is, again, as an unbiased truth angel, to just gather the strands and weave them in a tapestry for you to appreciate and understand.
And second thing, and then I'll kind of get out of the way here. I certainly, I know I gave you all kinds of grief about the $3 thing. Way back when it first started.
Yes,
I think you'll be okay, homie. People giving you $10 a week to say that you poop themselves. So
yeah,
I think it'll work out. I also have a funny feeling, considering, wasn't there a thing? I can't remember exactly what happened. But Patreon did something and they got all kinds of grief for it, and they walked it back. Do you think there's a chance that this happens again with this thing?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I have negative feelings. It's just, all I've ever wanted Patreon to be is a fucking bank. Run my goddamn payments.
I know you said that before.
Run my goddamn payments. Keep up my RSS feeds. You want to adjust my cut? Then adjust my cut, right? Like, do it on the back end. Don't fuck with my relationship with my customers. Like, it just is so galling that they don't look at me as their customer. It is really, really, really frustrating.
Yeah, that's exactly what's going on, and that sucks. And so hopefully it gets worked out, buddy. If not, there's always only Jerks. So
yeah, I mean, look, I'm not even going to say it, but there's a lot of options going forward, and we will revisit it after the election.
All right, man. Be good. F the Jets. I'll talk to you later.
See ya. Olo Bustios, did Walz already know about the deployment? He was already discharged when the order came down. No, he knew about it. There's a press release from his congressional campaign saying that he was going to serve if he was called. He then retired before before his unit was deployed, but he knew that they were going out. Now, again, he had the ability to retire. And so this is why, to me, this is kind of a veterans only issue. The question is how many veterans could sway an election. And then the other side is the rank where he had a rank, he had to complete more stuff, he didn't complete more stuff, he has used that rank going forward. So again, it is not something that I particularly know about. And so I will stay out. I see you, the stolen valor stuff comes in, as I understand it, on two levels. Number one, the rank for which he had upon retirement, he then got a bust down on, but he has used that rank. He was referred to multiple times as the highest ranking military serviceman in Congress. He was not. And then him either not correcting people or making oblique references to serving on the battlefield. And that's where when the Harris campaign put out the clip of him saying there should not be weapons of war that I carried in war on the streets, that was an example of that. So, again, it is up to the voters of Georgia, Nevada, Arizona, Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin to decide how much that matters or doesn't matter. I will say that it is a little rich. It is a little rich that it's, oh, the stolen valor thing shows how little the Republicans have on Tim Walz when Tim Walz is making couch fucker jokes about JD Vance, which is not a real thing. That's a Twitter joke. So if we're talking about little things, that's a little thing. I mean, that is the Gorilla Channel. That is a meme. That is a Twitter joke. But this is politics, baby. Making hay over little or fake things is what you expect from politics. Absolutely. The couch thing is funny and lighthearted. The stolen valor thing is much more serious. Yes, I would agree. I think that the couch fucking thing, I found the couch fucking thing a little nastier just because it also is like, it was tied to the hillbilly elegy thing, which feels like sneering and punching down to a community that doesn't have a lot. To call him a couch fucker. But, it's big boy politics. The most amazing thing about the 2024 election is who would have thought that the GOP's kryptonite was just calling them weird. They have no defense against it. It's amazing to watch. If it works. If it works. Otherwise, it'll be criticized as being overbroad, that you should have focused on tax stuff. When Trump loses this year, he runs in 2028, but the Republicans knock him out in the primaries. That would require somebody to be able to knock Trump out in a Republican primary, which has proven to be impossible. If Trump stays out of jail. Yeah, I mean, look, if Kamala wins, then maybe Trump goes to jail, but does that make him more or less popular? Do you think Trump gets to 82 without serious health issues? I don't know. I've been making YouTube shorts with dad jokes. What's your favorite? Well, Tito, say hi to shorts. I'm dad. I like the like blank blank. I'm dad. I like that dad joke. Is the weird stuff actually working? As a right-leaning fence sitter, it seems very mean girlish, like Deplorables, but more middle school. I mean, it's a very online campaign. The Kamala Harris official press release had a drill tweet in it. Like, that's online. I live and breathe online. My pulse is all your base belong to us. That's pretty fucking online. Yeah, I don't know. Drill hasn't been pumping that fire ever since the Keebler Elves tweet. he got brushed back on the Keebler Elves tweet. I think becoming a father and the instant gravity of the situation and how it affects the future may help you understand the cat lady comments. I'd be interested in your feedback after you're a dad. Steven, I mean, look, if you want to actually, I think JD actually did a good job on the Sunday shows, pushing what I think should be the future of at least the pro-life movement, which I am not a part of, but I can understand the most favorable rebrand would be to rebrand the pro-life party as the, like, we want to make having kids easier, up to and including elements of government subsidy for like child tax credit and stuff like that. You know, I think if he is looking at a pro-family stance, then that is what it is. I don't know. Look, he made a mean comment to Pete Buttigieg, Kamala Harris, and AOC on Tucker Carlson. What are you gonna do? All right. That's going to be it for me today. I will, we have We're Not Wrong today. We're going to Fogo de Chao. Jen is paying up her Trump stake bet. That's going to be amazing. And there we go. Till next time, this is your old pal Justin Robert Young saying, see ya.